The flight was a nightmare from the start. 5 hours in a cramped seat, and the child behind wouldn't stop kicking. It was early morning in San Francisco, the kind of morning where the sky was still a deep indigo, and the city was only beginning to stir. The airport bustled with the quiet chaos of travelers eager to escape the West Coast or return home to the Midwest. Among them was Alex, who had just settled into a seat on the crowded flight to Chicago, the journey ahead promising a long, uneventful stretch of sky. Alex was no stranger to flights. He had perfected the art of airplane sleep, equipped with an eye mask and neck pillow, ready to escape into slumber as soon as the wheels left the ground. But today, his plans for an uninterrupted nap were shattered as he felt two small feet kicking persistently against the back of his seat. He took a deep breath, trying to suppress the annoyance bubbling up inside him. He turned slightly, peering through the narrow gap between the seats. There, he saw a little girl, no more than 4 years old, her feet energetically thumping against his seat. Beside her sat her slightly older brother, equally restless, and next to them, their mother, cradling an infant who seemed to be the calmest of the trio. Alex knew he had to tread carefully. He waited, hoping the mother would notice and intervene. 10 minutes passed, but she seemed oblivious, lost in the chaos of managing 3 young children on a flight. The kids continued their assault on his seat, their small hands tapping the entertainment screen and fiddling with the tray table, each thud and rattle vibrating through Alex's spine. With a sigh, Alex turned around, summoning all the politeness he could muster. "Excuse me," he said softly. "Could you please ask your daughter to stop kicking my chair?" The mother, startled from her reverie, apologized, claiming she hadn't realized. Alex nodded, skepticism creeping in. How could she not notice her child's feet drumming against the seat? Nonetheless, he sat back, hopeful that peace would follow, but within moments the kicking resumed, as relentless as before. Resigning himself to the fate of a sleepless flight, Alex closed his eyes, attempting to tune out the rhythmic pounding. An hour into the flight, just as he had begun to drift into a restless slumber, he was jolted awake. The little girl had discovered the window shade behind his head, and she was enthusiastically opening and closing it, the light flashing across his eyelids like a strobe. Sleep was now an impossibility. The hours dragged on. The children rotated through their repertoire. Kick, pull, slam. The mother occasionally barked orders in a low, stern voice, but the commands were as ineffective as whispers in the wind. Alex sat there, trapped in a cycle of frustration and fatigue, each minute feeling longer than the last. As the plane began its descent, Alex's patience wore thin. The prospect of landing brought no relief, only the dread of an extended taxi to the gate. The little girl, sensing the end of the ordeal, grew restless, her kicks becoming more frequent and forceful. Something snapped within Alex. His exhaustion took over, and before he could stop himself, he stood up, turning to face the mother with a voice louder than he intended. "Please get your kid to stop kicking the chair. Please, I can't take this anymore." The words hung in the air, surrounded by the murmured disapproval of nearby passengers. Alex sat back down, his face flushed with a mix of anger and embarrassment. He couldn't believe he had lost his composure like that. The mother's eyes widened in surprise, and she quickly turned to her daughter, murmuring gentle reprimands. Her partner, who had been sitting across the aisle, glanced over but said nothing, his expression one of weary resignation. As the plane finally docked at the gate, Alex gathered his belongings, a sense of shame mingling with his fatigue. He knew traveling with kids was no small feat, especially 3 of them, and he regretted his outburst. Part of him wished he had handled the situation differently, perhaps with more patience, more understanding. But another part of him, the part still aching from hours of discomfort, felt justified. Surely, he thought, there must have been something the mother could have done. A toy, a game, anything to occupy their time and hands during the long flight. As he disembarked, he caught a glimpse of the family, the mother balancing the infant on one hip while shepherding her two other children toward the baggage claim. She looked exhausted, her steps heavy with the weight of the journey. Alex felt a pang of empathy, wondering if she had even had a moment to breathe during the flight. Reflecting on the incident, Alex realized how quick he had been to judge, how easily frustration had clouded his empathy. Yes, the mother could have been more attentive, and yes, the flight had been unbearably long, but perhaps he could have offered a smile or a helping hand instead of a sharp word. In the grand scheme of things, it was a small moment, a mere blip in the timeline of his life. But in that moment, it had felt monumental, the world narrowing down to the simple, infuriating act of a child kicking a seat. As he walked through the bustling airport, he resolved to carry the lesson with him, a reminder of the importance of patience, understanding, and the quiet battles everyone fights just beneath the surface. Alex stepped out into the Chicago air, the chill a stark contrast to the warm chaos of the plane. He took a deep breath, feeling the tension begin to melt away. The city beckoned, vibrant and alive, and with each step, he moved closer to leaving the memory of the flight behind, ready to embrace whatever lay ahead. As Alex made his way through the bustling terminal, the cacophony of sounds from announcements, rolling suitcases, and chattering travelers filled the air, washing over him like an ocean wave. Each step he took was an effort to shake off the lingering tension from the flight, to let the tendrils of stress unwind and dissipate into the vastness of the airport. Yet, despite his resolve, the outburst lingered in his mind, replaying in a loop. The sharpness of his voice, the startled look on the mother's face, the way the nearby passengers had turned to look at him, their expressions a mix of curiosity and reproach. He couldn't help but replay the scene, wondering if he could have handled it with more grace. He had been tired, yes, and pushed to the edge of his patience, but the mother had been carrying her own burdens. It was a reality check of sorts, a reminder that everyone around him was fighting their own battles, unseen and often unacknowledged. As much as he longed for a peaceful flight, she had probably yearned for a moment of quiet amidst the chaos of wrangling 3 young children. The airport was a hive of activity, and as Alex moved through the throng of people, he realized how small his own troubles were in the grand scheme of things. A fleeting discomfort on a plane seemed trivial compared to the challenges many faced every day. The realization was humbling, and he felt a renewed sense of gratitude for his own life, for the ability to travel, to explore new places and meet new people. As he joined the line for a taxi, he saw the family once more. The mother was still juggling her infant, her other children clinging to her hands as they navigated through the crowd. Their eyes met briefly, and Alex offered a small, apologetic smile. She nodded in acknowledgement, her expression softening for a moment before she turned back to her children. In that silent exchange, there was an understanding, a mutual recognition of shared humanity. It was a moment that transcended the frustration and exhaustion, a quiet acknowledgement that they were all just trying to get through the day as best they could. The taxi pulled up, and as Alex settled into the back seat, he felt the tension finally begin to ebb away. The city of Chicago stretched out before him, its skyscrapers reaching into the sky, its streets bustling with life. It was a new day, a fresh start, and he was ready to embrace it with open arms. As the cab wound its way through the city streets, Alex allowed himself to let go of the morning's events. He thought about the people he would meet, the sights he would see, and the stories he would gather along the way. And with each mile, The memory of the flight faded into the background, replaced by the promise of new experiences and the lessons learned from a simple yet profound reminder of empathy and patience. The city was calling, and Alex was ready to answer, to immerse himself in its rhythm, its stories, and its people. Each step a testament to the journey ahead and the understanding that had grown within him. Subscribe for more stories.